And enemies. Welcome back, CBP, the mighty CBP. A podcast for you to listen to Monday nights live and listen to other times not live. My name is Joey. That's Len. Lots to talk about today. Price is down, Len. Doesn't matter. Vibes are high. Global liquidity maybe turning up. U.S. liquidity not so much. I see so many people talking about global M2. They have no idea that it doesn't matter. Only U.S. liquidity matters. Anyway, we'll get into all that. But
they
as
all
always,
matter.
It's something. It all matters to our vibe. How you doing over there? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm great, Joey. Just great.
Truth and Reconciliation Day today. Should I throw you some red meat or?
No, I mean, I have nothing to say about that. All the more power to everybody out there that's honoring it, and it's good to honor it if you are. And yeah, fantastic. It's a great
That's
day
it.
or
That's
bad
it.
day. I don't know how to look at it, but yeah, it came out king of 94 actually this past weekend, so I did my part. Joey, I went to the third. There's 3 different brackets: the top tier, mid tier, and bottom tier. Round robin 2 and 4. I went to the bottom tier. I lost so many matches, 2-4. Those matches were either 1 goal or 2 goals. So I hung in, but I made it to the finals of the third tier and lost by 1 goal in the finals. So
that's all right. Is that progress for you?
I think, well, I proved to myself I could hang with a lot of these folks out there. There's one guy in particular nobody can hang with. He's won it many, many times, and he's yesterday or 2 days ago, he absolutely slaughtered the competition. But for the rest, I mean, I could kind of hang with them. I can't say I could win, but I could, hold my own. And, the 2 matches I lost, I heavily outshot my opponents, so it could have went my way too. So I could have been 4-2. But either way, look what I got for being in this constellation. Socks, baby. Socks. Bring it on. Socks. That's what I want, man. That's what
I love it.
There's a little trophy that the winners got. So, man, I missed that.
That's sick. Cool. We won our outdoor football championship on Saturday. Big game from yours truly in the rain. And then yesterday, I took a break from that championship to go celebrate the other championship we won a few weeks ago in the 5-on-5 league. We're just, Len, CBP, what are we? We're winners. That's all we do is win. DJ Khaled is in shambles. He doesn't win this much. Anyway, we'll talk about what?
I got this box set I won too. This the whole set of the OPG 92-93 cards.
You're not gonna open that, I hope.
I don't know. I want to look through it and take a look at it. I mean,
can I make a recommendation to you if you choose to open it?
Go ahead.
You should record the pack openings and post
absolutely
100%. People love I keep that shit up. I am like such a good like conscious scroller of shorts content, and I always stop and watch the pack openings, even for like old baseball players. I'm always surprised by guys whose names I know from that era. God, that's cool. I so want to get into sports cards collecting or like Pokemon card collecting or something.
There was a bunch. There was Fleer, OPG. I can't remember if there's
is that the gum pack, OPG?
I think it is, and there's no gum in this one because it's just the cards. So it's not. I have to break open a box and go through each one individually. So there's no individual packs. So it's a whole set.
Yeah. So you shouldn't open it. Yeah. Don't open it.
Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't do it. It's a really cool prize. Either way, a great time at the King of 94. It was
glad to hear that.
Well attended. CBC wrote an article about it. It was good times.
Wow, that's great. Lots to talk about tonight. We'll get into all the stuff going on. I see, dock worker strike, hurricanes, World War III. The usual, the sponsors, of course. Happy to hear us talk about this. EasyDNS. Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar. He's got everything you need, okay? From security, locking you down with domain share. We just learned about that last week. Mark gave us a quick crash course. It was about an hour long. Making sure that you don't get typo squatted, spoofed, you name it. So many things can happen to you when you run a domain. And Mark makes sure that you don't have to worry about it, because what is a registrar there for if not to protect you and make sure that your website is running well and secure? That's what he does. Other domain providers do not do that. Other registrars do not do that. Secondly, of course, virtual private server stuff. We've talked about this a lot. He's got you covered if you're a Bitcoiner. You want to do BTC Pay server, nodes, Nostr relays, all that good stuff. He'll take care of you. GPG and PGP email, of course, with your domain. And the best thing is that you don't have to buy your domain with Mark if you don't want to. You should. You can port one over, find one there. We wanted to buy one, or I wanted to buy one a little while ago for my Substack. I still have to do it. But it's all the different suffixes, like the finishers on the domain. So .com, .ca, .xyz, .whatever. It's all available to you. And of course, money back guarantee. You don't like the service, whatever. Mark doesn't ask you when you got it. You don't have to call the service desk and fight with somebody about the quality, and you just get your money back. And I guarantee you Mark is not giving money back to a lot of people because it's hard, first of all, not to like Mark, but hard not to like what they have at these DNS. They are the best registrar in the game. CBP Media is the code. Go there, get a website, get all this stuff, and you won't regret it. I'll say that much.
Joey, I'm looking at the price behind you because that's going to be a little bit of what I'm going to be talking about now, which is Bull Bitcoin, our second sponsor. I didn't realize where we're at. I know there was a pump this past week, but I don't know where we sat today, 63,000. So you go buy Bitcoin at that price. You can sell Bitcoin at that price, on-chain, Lightning, whatever you want. My node is being updated right now, so I don't know what are the on-chain fees. I suspect they're still kind of low, which means I would suggest, not financial advice, of course, do all your buys on chain and then save those Lightning purchases for another time, but still learn how to use Lightning. But either way, Bull Bitcoin has you covered when you're buying or selling using both on chain and Lightning. Also, they provide some other services. Look, you bought Bitcoin for a long time, right? And you have a large stack of it. It's accumulated in price. What are you going to do with it? One of the options is you could start paying your bills with that. Why not? You have a car payment, you have electricity bill, whatever the heck you have that has to be paid. Well, you could you can directly use your Bitcoin to pay it through Bull Bitcoin service. Also, they have another option. You could buy gift cards. So you can start spending the Bitcoin that you've accumulated over the years, and you can buy gift cards and start spending that in the real world. So you're kind of using your Bitcoin and living on a Bitcoin standard, but this is all through the help of Bull Bitcoin. Check them out. Lots of different options over there. Also, if you haven't yet opened an account, use our promo code below. What the heck are you doing not opening an account using our code? You get $21 added to your account once you provide the necessary information. Joey,
you got to be buying now. Not financial advice, NFA as always. Third sponsor, Decentral Tech, boys and girls, I guess. If you don't have a CBP BitAxe on order, get one. Okay, 75 total made. I don't know if there's any left, but if there is, go get one. Jonathan and the team at Decentral Tech, okay, doing the Lord's work. Home mining, critical. It is mission critical to make sure that HUD 8 and Riot and Hive and all these other industrial miners are not running the entire network. Why? They're a central point of failure, number one. They are more easy to impact through government influence, number two. And number three, you should be able to look cool mining at home instead of just them looking cool mining in the racks. You can't beat the stuff that Decentral Tech has. You can get anything for your S9, S21, whatever, S19 miner. If you have that kind of hardware, they'll help you make sure that hardware stays running. They got repairs, they got new parts, they got all sorts of stuff. You can also, of course, like I mentioned, get into home mining with the BitAxe. Wife-friendly, quiet, looks cool. Looks very cool. You can get a CBP one, as I mentioned as well. Looks even cooler. Of course, on top of that, Len, they have some other services. They've done some hosting. They'll help you with whatever you need. But the point really about Decentral Tech is that they're a Canadian company. They care about home mining. They understand that mining decentralization is critical to the Bitcoin mission, and they want to help you contribute to that outcome. So go there. There's no promo code. Just tell Jonathan we sent you. Send him a tweet. Send him a message on Discord. Do whatever you want, okay? But what we want here is for you guys to patronize them, and you've been doing it so far. I hope it continues because this is important, man. I got my CBP BitAxe ordered. I said to someone in DMs, I'll mention this again this week. Somebody asked me if we just get the BitAxes, like the CBP BitAxes for free. I said, no, we don't take anything for free, only t-shirts and hats. So we are on this ride with you guys as well. And I think it's going to go really well. And socks. Yeah. I think it's going to go really well. I can't wait. I actually saw my Kaboom Rack shirt in my old laundry, whatever, like dresser. I might bust it out maybe for the gym or something. Get high on our hash, I think it says on the back. Great slogan. But yeah, anyway, that's great, man. Yeah, big all caps saying mine on Ocean with Datum. That's brand new, man. We can talk about that tonight if we want. I don't know if you got that in the list of stuff, but
got a lot of things to talk about. May not have that on the time to do it.
Let's get to the boosts.
I want to just talk about some boosts before we go any further. And Wedge Social. Wedge, everybody knows Wedge.
Damn Wedge, yeah.
Yeah. It's 113 sats. He writes, Joey is correct. You need 6 months of fiat to be ready. The rest should all be in hard assets. And he wrote this on Nostr, by the way. So this came through Nostr. So pretty cool. We're using that service to provide this boost. And he agrees with your sentiment. 6 months worth.
I appreciate that, Wedge. Keep eating chips, buddy.
Wartime, 333 sats. He does a couple of beer mugs for cheers. Wartime does it again. 333 sats. Boost with another couple of cheers. So he does it twice for 666 total sats. Heist Night, 1,000 sats. He says, you all talked me into getting a Bidax. I now have a 10,000 year plan to hit a block.
What did we say last week? Is like 9,600 years or something?
Yeah, because I provided that information. And obviously that was a snapshot of at that time. Over time, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, solo mining, it's cool. Your chances of getting it obviously slim to none, but you have a chance. You have a chance.
We got to do it. We got to do a CBP pool. We should do a CBP pool.
I don't know.
The chat talking about it right now. I think we should do it. I think it would be great.
We'll have to talk to somebody that's running a pool. We could just sort of create one big.
Apparently, you can do this with Datum. Datum will let you do this when it's open source. All Cap says. So
okay.
Yeah, we can always get Burnett, but your boy Bob can come on and talk to us about how to do it. Yeah, right.
I'll be happy to bring him on.
Yeah,
talk about football too. 1990s. Joe Ronan. He was 2222 sats. He writes in, enjoyed Carey's insights.
Yeah.
Joey, great rip. LFG, don't be a cock.
Carey was great, man. I want to apologize. We were a little late. Carey specifically was like, I've been in tech a long time. I should have been able to figure this out. It was like a weird update he did, and it turfed his tech for a bit, but he got it going. And I think he wants to have me on his show too. He's a busy guy, and he's had some big guests as well. So I would be honored to be on that program. But I really enjoyed talking to him, and I spoke to him for a bit after. He's a good guy, man. He's a guy that's come from the metal side like many others. And although he's not exclusively Bitcoin now, he understands the value prop, which is great to see. Really enjoyed talking to him.
And that's it, Joey, for the boost. I don't have anything else to write in.
Love it.
Or talk
okay, so yeah, housekeeping tomorrow. David St. Ange coming on, Quebec legend in the Bitcoin space. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I'll shout him out. It's very rare that I speak to the guests that we're having anytime before the show, basically. Like we booked them usually 3 weeks out. That's about the sweet spot for this show, which can be difficult sometimes, but it's better for us, even though it's like stressful sometimes, I think, Alan. But Dave messaged me today and asked if we had like topics. He sent me presentations he's done. He even sent me a folder with pictures of them to use for the thumbnail. How about that? Is that like not one of the greatest guest the polite guest move? We almost never have that. You and me are always hunting for thumbnails for the guests.
Google's my friend for that, and also X. And just go through either X or Twitter or Google. Yeah. So my apologies for anybody out there that's been an issue. Don't like the thumbnail, but that's where I get them from. Don't have any options.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun talking to him tomorrow. So tune in for that one. That's it though. Let's get into it. We're 3 minutes earlier than we usually are. We usually 16 minutes of intro. Today, only 13. So let's hit it.
All right. Swan. There's been some interesting news that came out of the Swan camp this past week. Everybody's been looking at this. They filed a lawsuit against several of their former employees. And the gist of it is the group of folks, they're working now in collaboration with an arm's length of tether, it looks like. And the whole thing is they may have allegedly have stolen some of Swan's mining business. The question is, how can somebody steal mining business? This is, kind of decentralized, anyone could spin up something. The more ASICs you have, the more. Can
anybody spin it up? I'm not sure you can spin one up. We've talked, the hardware is a problem now. That's an issue. Yeah.
I mean, we could get Bidaxes and you're good to go. Anyway, this is a group of 6 individuals we're talking about. And the thing which apparently they have stolen and taken with them to Proton Management. This is a company that they are now associated with it. So apparently there's highly proprietary code, and this would make mining more efficient. So Swan apparently had cracked the safe here and figured out that and got this highly proprietary code to make mining more efficient. And so now the beneficiary of this is now Proton Management, at least allegedly. So I did some searching. I could not find anything to do with Proton Management, the Bitcoin company, the Bitcoin mining company. Mm-hmm. I was able to find Proton Management or protonmanage.com. That's a different thing, but protonmanagement.com only has a landing page, nothing else. I did a who is on it, yields absolutely nothing. So I can't find who's behind this. Apparently it's somehow associated with Tether. But either way, this being a Bitcoin mining company, I don't know. I scoured as much as I can. I found nothing, but it doesn't mean anything in the end. There could be something under that name. So the question I have is, what the fuck is Proton Management? I don't know. Either way, in August, so it all stems from August, this group of employees abruptly left Swan. So they were working for Swan up until August, early August, and then they left and they joined almost simultaneously joined Proton Management Company. Now, a question I have, when anybody signs on a contract with a company, isn't there some sort of NDA or non-compete you typically sign when you sign on with a company? Like, that's what I would imagine they should have had. This is something that Swan just overlooked. And if so, then this is unfortunately what's going to happen. Proprietary info, secret info about the company. Like, what are they taking here that's going to make Proton Management much better at Bitcoin mining than anybody else? I don't know, but maybe there's something to it. We got to let this whole thing play out. There's a connection here to Tether between not just Proton Management, but also Tether was involved with funding Swan's Bitcoin mining operation.
We talked about this on the show, and people said that we were nuts for bringing this up, and clearly we were not.
Well, the question I have, if they're one of the funding companies of this mining operation that Swan had, wouldn't they want it to succeed? And if so, then wouldn't they want these individuals to stay there and not steal the code? Just, there's something here that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't have all the information, and it may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but still, a lot here I can't fucking connect. And I guess in time we will be able to connect some of these dots. So if I had access to highly proprietary code that makes stuff really mining more efficient, would I risk my neck to take that to go somewhere else? I could tell you, like, no, I wouldn't. It makes no sense. But why would 6 individuals do that? There's got to be a better way to get this out. Like, maybe they could have been blackmailed and threatened to send an explosive message to their pagers. Maybe that we could have got the information out of them rather than just simply detract them and make them go to Swan's company or this Proton Management. But even with the new code, spinning up a new Bitcoin mining operation is going to take a heck of a lot of time and effort. Granted, Tether did say that they are going to be doing some mining back in 2023. So it's been a year and a half since they started this, but still CapEx, operational expenses is high. It's a cutthroat business.
Yeah.
Can they really take any information and make their business any better, like Proton Management? I don't know. But remember that these guys I mentioned left in August. There's something here that doesn't pass a sniff test for me. They left in August. It was in July that Swan said they're going to be stopping their Bitcoin mining.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they stick around? Doesn't make sense. If they were doing stuff related to mining and they aren't going to be moving forward with anything with mining, it doesn't make sense for them to stay there. So that kind of makes sense why they would have left. But again, NDA or non-compete, there's got to be something in there that would have been in the contract. Something just doesn't seem right. Interestingly enough, Tether was not named in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
It was just these 6 individuals. But then we had this redacted information that's fucked up that you could kind of see the names because they use a marker that didn't quite truly hide all the information. So there's so much here that just reeks. And I don't know what the fuck's going to happen from this, but it seems like it's another black eye to Swan. And it just almost looks like sour grapes in a way. Is there anything to this? Did they really take information with them? I don't know. We'll find out. But even if they did, is that really going to put Swan's mining business in a bad footing? I don't know. Like, this is just, it's fucked up, this information.
There's a story on the Miner Mag that claims to have all the redacted stuff. And the subheading, it says, here's what Swan Bitcoin redacted in mining lawsuit involving Tether. The subheading is Tether controls the board of directors of mining JV Energy 2040. So that's significant, I think. And, I haven't read this whole story. It's got the full sort of thing here. Some rather important stuff. Like, here's a couple of examples of redacted stuff. I'm going to share the page actually for people on video so that if you want to read it yourself, you can. I also put it in the YouTube chat. So if people want to see it, they can do that. It's I don't know if it's damning, Len, but it's there's more to this, I think. Tether funded 2040 Energy and controlled 2040 Energy's board of directors. Clipston served as Swan's sole director on the board of 2040, and Tether CFO Giancarlo Divasini, good Italian guy there, and another guy who sounds like he could be a medieval composer. The former CEO of Tether and current CEO of Tether's sister company, Bitfinex, serves as Tether's director on the board. So you got the Bitfinex CEO, who's a former Tether guy, the Tether CFO, and they're both on this board for 2040 Energy. And 2040 Energy is basically Tether. Tether controls the board of directors for JV Energy 2040. And they were running Swan's day-to-day mining operation. Like, Tether might not be named in the suit, but they ought to be, I think. Then it talks about how, you got these other, the 6 people who were responsible for taking the code, among other things. On August 14th, 2024, Tether's counsel responded to Swan's letter requesting that Swan provide information concerning specific steps proposed to be undertaken by Swan to ensure that the business of 2040 Energy continues to be conducted as contemplated by the shareholders agreement. Again, like, Tether is running the show over there. I don't know how else you would see this. Another good example here. Tether's counsel proposed the written solutions of the board of directors of 2040 Energy related to a Bitcoin wallet contract, nominally asking for Clipston's review and approval as a director, among other things. The resolutions falsely represented that on August 19th, 2024, Swan proclaimed that it had resigned from his responsibilities for day-to-day operations over 2040, notwithstanding the shareholders agreement, among other things here. This is worth a read. This is from today. So the redacted information, these guys at Miner Mag are saying they have it all here. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But to me, this all looks pretty good in terms of like its accuracy. But there's more to this story, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't name Tether, do you think that was purposely so they don't anger anybody over there?
Like, I don't know.
Just don't ruffle feathers, because it's going after Proton Management, I think, does, but without specifically naming them, or at least, I don't know. There's something here, like,
it stinks.
I just can't
everything Tether is into stinks. And I want to point out that Mark Goodwin, formerly of Bitcoin Magazine, been on the show a couple of times, points this out in his book, The Bitcoin Dollar, which I need to go through again. I want to also point out that some of the smartest people in the business, okay, specifically in this case, Pish and Saifedean, had a little tete-a-tete with Mark on Twitter. And Mark points out that he doesn't think those guys really understand how bad Tether is. And for all the positives that you hear, both those guys have had the Tether CEO, Paulo, on their show. They also seem to be unwilling to say anything really bad about Tether. Maybe that's something. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Tether also, we've talked about this before. They're the, I think, 9th or 11th or something. They're top 20, top 15 maybe of holders of U.S. Treasury notes in the world, including nation states. They're going to at some point hold, $100 billion worth of these things in the not too distant future. They're using the interest on the notes to buy Bitcoin, Paulo says. That seems to me to be too. What's that?
I believe that there's some gold too they're purchasing as well.
Whatever. But the point is that it's hard for me.
Free money.
Yeah, it's hard for me to. Yeah, and it's hard for me to imagine that the U.S. government is willing to sit back and watch this happen. Like, none of these are unrelated stories, sort of thematically, but there's a thread between these things. Like, why does everything these guys do have to be squinted at, right? It always has just a bit of a stink. And, so far there hasn't been any smoking gun, but, I would just, my instincts, my intuition tells me something is going on here that is not good for Bitcoin, and you may not like Swan. Hell, you may not even like Corey. I was going to suggest that maybe the 6 people who try to take the mining, the proprietary stuff, maybe just didn't like Corey. I think that's possible too. But that's tertiary to the Tether thing. The Tether thing is the central thing here, I think. And I kind of I got half a mind to call Mark and tell him I want to talk about this with him on the show. because I think he'd have some insight that I just don't have. And I wonder if he'd be willing to do it. I think it's important. And it's something going on here, man, with this company. Something is afoot. I think it's a safe bet.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think I'm in that camp where something is. I just think they're doing what it is they're doing.
You think the U.S. government is letting a Bitcoin company buy U.S. treasuries to the tune of a major nation state and use all the proceeds to attack the U.S. dollar hegemony?
I believe that's the case, and eventually that may stop. I've hypothesized that there may be a time when this may come to an end. The U.S. they're hungry for selling treasuries. Remember, they at one time they didn't have anybody. It was quantitative easing. It was the central bank. It was the Federal Reserve buying this up. So if they found a buyer, I'm sure they're more than happy to sell it at market value. It doesn't matter who's buying it. It's not, and it's not within their.
I think it does matter. I think, yeah, exactly.
They're not going to sell to North Korea, for instance.
Russia,
but Tether, I think right now they're kind of they're leaning every day closer to being adversarial force. The one thing I have always thought, and maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but I think that they will eventually make everything they have null and void. The Federal Reserve probably has the ability to do that.
They've done that already. Yeah.
They've with Russia, right? And they could do the same thing with these guys. And if that happens, this thing collapses because it has absolutely nothing else to back it aside from the treasuries in which they own and the Bitcoin that they also have, but it's not going to be enough to. So that's the one thing I feel, if there's ever going to be quote unquote an attack by either the Treasury Department or Federal Reserve and saying we don't want to deal with these guys, we're going to just basically cancel everything, then what happens at that point? If something happens to Tether, the price of Bitcoin, you could fucking bet is going to tank. Is it going to go $10,000 less, $20,000, $50,000 less? I don't know what
that'd be a 90% drawdown.
But it's going to recover.
I don't know, but it'd be pretty bad.
There's going to be a huge fucking drawdown.
Yeah,
and it may not happen immediately. It could be just because there will be collateral damage if something happens really bad at Tether. What other company that is strongly associated with Tether then falls down? Just like when we had FTX fall and we had Voyager Digital and a bunch of other companies in 2022 collapse because it was just domino effect. It might happen again. I'm not saying it will. It's possible.
Yeah, I want to point out that Tether actually already has more than 100 billion in treasuries. So
if they are legitimate,
that's a ton. That is a ton.
If they are upfront, they found a cheat code here. Right? If everything is above board, they found a cheat code until it's no longer applicable.
I don't think it's both. I think there's a real problem here. I honestly do. Like, I just don't.
Yeah. And I've been seeing this for some time. There's something's going to happen with Tether, and when it does, but it's not going to be anybody else, I think, other than the Treasury Department or the Federal Reserve that's going to make that call. I don't think anything else is going to make them fall. I don't think there's going to be a catastrophic event. They've had massive drawdowns in their treasury in their reserves there's been a few events and they were able to withstand that. Remember what was it? Circle USDC that was kind of depegging at one point, but it didn't.
Yeah,
but Tether never really did.
Tether's always teetering around $1. Yeah, it never really goes anywhere. I mean, there's so much commentary over the years about like the legitimacy of Tether and whether USDT is actually where all the Bitcoin volume and price pressure is coming from. Doomberg was on this show 2 years ago at this point, talking about exactly that. And, at the time, I didn't really have a rebuttal. I wasn't in the camp that I'm in now, where I think that they're like legitimately an arm of the government. And I think Doomberg, for all the things he gets right, he doesn't have a smoking gun either, right? This is the thing. No one has the hard evidence. And Paulo is polished on these podcasts. He's doing, as Boomer points out in the chat, actually, he's rolling short-term treasuries, maybe to avoid this potential rug pull by the government. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like he goes on the podcast and says, like Preston Pish talks about this all the time. Like, oh, Paulo's so smart. He doesn't do any long-term stuff. He can't. No, you could never force me to take the risk of buying long-term paper because of the interest rates. But I actually think he's not buying long-term paper for a different reason. And I think it's either because the government won't let him, or because he knows. Like I gotta think this through more because like I'm just kind of rambling here because my mind is racing. But I don't think this story of Swan is done, and I don't think that Tether is going to be this shining beacon of speculative attack against the dollar for too much longer. Like what is the plan when let's say Harris wins in November. I think she will win in November. Let's say she wins. Is her administration going to allow this to continue when you just saw, Nick Carter's Operation Chokepoint thing come true with the Silvergate Bank stuff? He wrote this great piece. It's on Zero Hedge and it's on his website. It's on Pirate Wires. These people hate Bitcoin, and Elizabeth Warren and Gensler and a few other people put pressure and had basically unwritten rules applied to crypto banks during the breakdown of those institutions, a year ago, I guess, March 22, whatever, that was, whenever that was. These guys put so much pressure on those banks and basically destroyed them, even though they were solvent, because they told them, look, we're not going to work with you anymore if you don't do this stuff. It's hard for me to believe that the government is just letting Tether, with basically its other hand, run this attack. How does that add up? It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. And I think there's a lot of people who are saying, Tether is an independent company. Like you said, I think a lot of people say they found this cheat code, but there are no cheat codes, Like, how many times have we seen the government change the rules on a whim, on a dime? Basically extra, like outside of process and procedure. And in the case of the Silvergate thing, as Nick points out, without even writing them down, just like a phone call saying, look, if you don't do this, we're going to shut you down. I don't think they're doing it with Tether. They're not going to let this happen. And Swan, Len, it's almost like, it feels like they got into bed with the mafia a little bit, doesn't it? They just take no prisoners. Maybe they're shrewd, man. Well, big time.
You gave one scenario.
Yeah.
Harris winning president. The other scenario, because there really is only two at this particular moment, is Trump winning. So,
and then Tether has to buy WorldFi Liberty coin with their proceeds instead of Bitcoin.
Well, would then a Trump administration also stand by and do absolutely nothing? What is Tether doing? They're creating a product that is on par, on paper, with US dollar, but it's operating outside the realm of the US dollar. If you want to send money through the SWIFT system or through what other centralized system that deals with banks, be it central or commercial, they have the ability to direct or say, yes, it can go there, or no, it can't go there. And that's with their own US dollar. But with USDT, they don't have that ability to stop and say, no, it can't go to this corporation or this country or wherever. So that they're losing that battle in that respect. It is a competing product of a shitcoin. That's something else we also have to recognize is it is a shitcoin. It is a 1-to-1 peg to the US dollar, which I don't give a shit what anybody says is a shitcoin. It's going to be printed to infinity. There's no way to determine how many are in circulation. It checks all the boxes of being a shitcoin. So I kind of hope one day Tether does fail. It's probably going to be better for Bitcoin in the long run. But if it happens or doesn't happen, to be honest, it's outside my control. Bitcoin's going to win either way, with Tether being there or not being there. Bitcoin is going to win.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it.
Yeah, Boomer pointing out that the government would want Tether to buy longer term debt. You're right. I made a mistake there when I was speaking. I have to think this through more. I got to talk to Mark. I got to talk to Mark about this and find out what he thinks. He's the right guy to ask. He's not afraid to talk to the biggest names in the space and tell them why he thinks they're wrong. And that's a guy you want to be talking to.
Well, Bitcoin. Let's move on. Because 35 minutes in, one topic. Bitcoin had a bump this past week, a little bit of a pump.
Yeah,
a big pump depending on which way you look at it. And like clockwork, Coinbase went up flying. September 26th, Coinbase was out. There was an outage over there. Why? Inept, I guess. I don't think they're doing this on purpose. There's no fucking way anybody would want to do this on purpose. They want to be available at that particular moment to try to capture as much of the market share as possible, as much volume people want to buy and maybe sell. So they would want to be there. But there's something like they just don't have the systems available to deal when there's a ramp up in volume. I can't believe it's like that. But they just, to date, every time we've had a ramp up, they've always fucking went out for a brief period of time. And not only that, people are still experiencing delays with getting their funds off Coinbase. People have purchased Bitcoin, and I guess shitcoins, but I could say specifically Bitcoin. That was the post I've seen. They bought Bitcoin in the past few days after this outage, and they're having trouble getting their Bitcoin out to their own wallets. That's crazy. Why is that? This is another example why people out there should avoid using custodial exchanges. By doing so, you're just adding another layer of problems, which you don't need. Don't let them hold on to your fucking Bitcoin. You have it sent directly to your fucking address. That's the way to do it. Well, Bitcoin, that's a good one to use.
I totally agree.
In Canada, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. I'm not sure if you want to add anything to else. But the fucking Coinbase again went down. This is just sheer inept. That's what it is.
I can't really comment on it. Like, it's whatever. It happens every time. It's a rite of passage, I think, for the bull runs. By the way, there was no really like huge spike where they should have gone down, right? They go down on like 10% up days, but this was kind of a gradual move, and then they just blacked out. Like, okay, sure, I guess we need Brian Armstrong to get to a 225-pound squat. That's what we need. Zuckerberg has completely changed his mindset, and we need Brian Armstrong to do the same. That's what we need here.
So Zuck is now into glasses. I'm not sure if you saw that.
I did, yeah.
So if you think there's some meat on this bone that could be chewed, that's going to be the next big thing, and it's going to replace phones as a way to communicate with the internet. We'll see.
Phones are such a natural thing now.
I don't know. Maybe.
Like, I mean, you're going to wear like glasses that like augment. Like, I can't picture myself doing that.
So then it don't matter if he squats 225. He's going to be at that point 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 if you want to think Facebook has been a failure as well.
Yeah.
Because they changed the name to Meta for the purpose of what? For becoming more.
Never forget the metaverse shareholder video. Remember that with like with
Zuckerberg?
Yeah. So bad.
Yeah.
It was like the Decentraland videos from 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
that shit show.
Bringing some classic memories.
Oh, I got some real estate in Decentraland. Oh, that's good for you. That's good. Yeah. Lock in 30-year mortgage.
BNY Mellon. You heard about these guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. America's oldest bank, right? They're going to be trying to take a bite out of Coinbase's custodial business, be a Bitcoin custodial business, because they got approved this past week by the SEC, no less, to move forward to provide custodial services for Bitcoin and shitcoins. Yep. And they are they're more recognized and a trusted name in the world of finance than, say, Coinbase is.
For sure. TradFi, 100%.
Yeah. So this might in some way end up taking away some of the business from Coinbase for custodial. Not only are they going to be doing custodial services for clients, but also for Bitcoin ETFs. So to potentially, the ETFs could be a very, very big thing, or maybe clients are going to be bigger too. We'll see over time. And so this could be pretty lucrative, especially, Joey, let's be honest. Are they going to start doing fractional reserve Bitcoin? If they're doing it with fiat, why don't they do the same thing with Bitcoin? Yeah. And then that becomes fucking a problem later on. Would you trust them to hold on to your Bitcoin? I'll be honest, no fucking way for me. All the more reason for you to hold on to your own keys. And I guess that one other thing is I have to ask, how are they going to be holding this? Is it going to be multi-sig? Who the fuck holds the keys? Like, what sort of security are they going to be providing to ensure that there is no rug pull in the future? But whatever, just another service that I am not going to be using, and I'm not going to recommend anybody to be using.
It's important that they do it though. And, we may disagree on this. Actually, I don't think we disagree. Like, it's obviously suboptimal to have someone else hold your Bitcoin, regardless of who that other person, institution, whatever is, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's an ETF, whether it's a bank, doesn't matter. The thing is that you're going to see as older people with more assets in the traditional world and more trust in traditional institutions like banks want to get into Bitcoin, they're just never going to go to Coinbase. They're never going to do it. These are the same people that, don't send e-transfers, that still go to the branch to talk to a teller, that care about this sort of white glove feel of a traditional bank compared to Coinbase or anything really, like any Bitcoin exchange, or even like a bank like Tangerine, right? That's like purely online. To get those people into Bitcoin, if they don't want the ETF, you need to have some custody option. And I think people will appreciate that about a bank. There's also some subsection of the Bitcoin space that just doesn't want to do self-custody. Like, Unchained has a custody solution. Casa, obviously a custody solution. There's a few others out there too that do this. And those are geared toward people who are in the space, like people like you and me. And they seem to be doing fairly well. Unchained specifically seems to be doing very well. So people want this service. Whether they should want it or not is a completely different story, a different question that you and me probably both agree on. You should just learn how to do custody yourself. It's not that hard. But there's a demand for this. And I think you're going to see people who want, like I said, who want to get into Bitcoin but don't want to deal with the custody. They'll do it through means like this. Now, here's a question for you. How big is this market really? We've talked about this with SB, about how much does Coinbase make on custody. There's a story on Yahoo Finance that talks about this. Per Bloomberg estimates, the crypto custody market is worth roughly $300 million and growing at an annual rate of 30%. 30%
So
a
100
year.
million this year, or 100
Yeah, 130 million a year after, whatever it is. Yeah. Pretty good. So, is that a market you'd want to get into? I think so. Isn't it more likely that you see more banks doing this and eating share from Coinbase than Coinbase breaking into traditional finance? It's like a one-way gate almost, right? Like, Coinbase is just never going to win over those people, but the bank offering Bitcoin services, I think that's a winning business model, or it's a winning strategy for those businesses. And I just don't see those people ever going a different direction. If they don't want to do self-custody, they're not going to use Casa. They're not going to use Unchained. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the bank. That's a smart play by BNY. And, they, like you said, they're the oldest institution in the country when it comes to banking. I like this, honestly. And, I think the one thing you and me may disagree on is how much time and energy should we put into like trying to drag people into the self-custody world. I would say new Bitcoiners should look at that first, but there's a whole separate, group of new Bitcoiners who are, over 55, 60 that maybe are just like, nah, I want the bank to do it. This is super risky in my view. Not just because we don't know the details of the custody solution yet. That's one piece, obviously, but banks are a government institution. They're going to give up your Bitcoin if push comes to shove. And what's the old saying, man? Not your keys, not your coin. There's risks in doing this stuff. Now, maybe you're not worried about it if you're a boomer, right? You're probably the same kind of person who says, "Who needs privacy if you're not breaking the law?" But it's an interesting change. It's a pivot, right? How long until we see a Canadian bank doing this?
Good question. I can't even come up with an answer because it would be dependent on how soon they get the ball rolling to get their application in. They'd have to get the powers that be give them the blessing, just like the SEC did.
They don't have to. The banks here don't have that problem. When the banks want something, when the banks want something here, they get it. There's no questions from regulators or anything like that. When the banks want something, they get it. When they want something stopped, they get that too.
And in the States, they don't have that same type of power.
It's not the same oligopoly that it is here, right? Here we have basically the big four plus a few auxiliary chartered banks, and over there's hundreds, if not more, if not thousands of different banks.
Well,
And
the first bank of Two Hills, Alberta, is getting bigger and bigger by the day. So maybe that's going to be included in the big four.
Maybe.
Well, the one thing that really I'm concerned about is will they ever do fractional reserve Bitcoin?
Caitlin Long thinks they will. She was on Marty's show and thinks that's going to be the problem. That's going to be what blows up one of these banks at some point. That they'll think they can do it, and they just there's no bailout, there's no fix. The asset's impossible to produce. Yeah.
So, and we were talking last week about yield on Bitcoin, and I fear maybe you're going to have a bank come out with a product that's going to offer yield. We have a savings account with Bitcoin. You put it in, and you're going to get a certain percentage over the year. But where the fuck does it come from? It probably will come from somebody else's account, and then eventually, how does this get? It's going to be just something that will collapse in the end. And now that we have them, the oldest bank. They filed the application to SEC, were granted. How many others are going to do the same thing? Because they're not going to sit idly by and let that type of...
Absolutely not. Absolutely
exactly. Not. They want to capture that same market share as well. So this is going to be a domino effect. You're going to see every other big bank and small and medium size do the exact same thing. And then when we have fractional reserve Bitcoin in that system from a smaller bank that then gets... There's a run on capital over there. Then it's going to be fun to watch.
Totally.
But whatever. See, Bloomberg is reporting that on X that BlackRock is running their own Bitcoin node. I found this to be pretty funny. They're also sharing wallet balances and addresses with institutional clients upon request. So they're doing this because, remember, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about the paper Bitcoin allegations, Coinbase, and stuff like that. Well, this helps alleviate any of the concerns anybody has, because they can, upon request, provide information and verify to their customers that Coinbase has done things correctly. So the IBIT ETF, it's provable evidence that they have the coin that it is that they say they have it. The question now I would love to know the answer to this. What version are they running? Are they running Bitcoin Core? Are they running NOTs? I'm fucking willing to bet. Money. It's got to be something like Umbrel. If BlackRock's doing anything, I'm fucking positive they've done an Umbrel thing. It's got to be that. It'd be fucking funny. But it's better than nothing, I guess.
I like this. You must love this. Do you not?
Well, the fact that they're running a node, like
BlackRock has more nodes running than I do. BlackRock has more nodes running than I do right now.
Apparently so. I gotta get you. Fuck, Joey. I got a laptop here. You could fucking have. We could set you up. But they don't even they don't fucking trust. They verify. BlackRock don't fucking trust. Everybody should do the fucking same thing. You too, Joey. Let's get you on. I got a laptop.
I know. Now,
I'll set it up for you. All you plug it in and away you go. You don't have to fucking do a thing.
If that's not an impetus for, if
you got to point your fucking Sparrow and shit to it. There's some things you got to do, but I'll take you 9/10 of the way.
Yeah, Boomer in the chat asking a good question. Who's the known Bitcoiner working at BlackRock that they're doing this?
They must have hired somebody.
Must have. It's got to be someone we've heard of, right? BlackRock doesn't just hire anybody.
No. Who is this? Somebody is probably a double agent. Who here? Maybe somebody in the chat.
Gotta find out.
That person ABC212. I don't recall seeing him before, but now
me neither. Yeah.
Maybe he or she might be it. Anyways, CK Pool. Not sure if we've talked about them before. They're relatively popular solo Bitcoin mining pool. And in fact, some solo Bitcoin mining enthusiasts actually were able to find a block using CK Pool solo. Someone now noted this past week, they're now charging solo folks a 20,000 sat annual fee just to view your stats. What the fuck is this? Just to view your stats. CK Pool Dev on X mentioned that the website solo.ckpool.org was being maintained by a third-party entity, and they are the ones that put up this fee. So it wasn't at the blessing of CK Pool Dev. They did it on their own volition. And just by seeing this, it's kind of shitty to me. And I would encourage folks out there, if you want to be a solo miner, look at other options rather than going ahead and paying the 20,000 sat annual fee just to look at your sats, because solo Bitcoin mining, let's be honest, is 99.999% not profitable. Maybe add a bunch of nines is probably truthful, but look at other options. Public-pool is one that I know that Decentral Tech talks about fondly. Another one is Kano.is, Kano.is. That's another one. Those are two that I could say that they're not going to charge you for reviewing your stats. But looking at this, it's kind of shitty. I understand why it's done. It was a third party was maintaining it, but come on, man. 20,000 sats. It's pretty fucking, it's like a cash grab or a sats grab in this case.
They say it's not for profit, but it's just, you don't need it. You don't need it. Don't do it. Just use one of these other pools. Use the CBP pool when we spin it up. It's stupid, dumb. Everyone's trying to get your sats, buddy. This is the thing that happens in bull markets. Everybody wants a bit of your stack, and they're going to get it however they think they can. Collaborative custody or convenience services or whatever. They're going to try and get your Bitcoin somehow, and it's up to you not to get fooled. The scams are always different, right? It's NFTs, it's whatever, right? It's everyone is trying to get your Satoshis during a bull market. Yeah, whatever it is, right? Or like airdrops. Famously there was the years ago, and they still do it sometimes. I see like these videos of like AI Elon or AI Sailor talking about, send us Bitcoin, we'll send you more back. Crazy. I have a friend of a friend who I've like had beers with, sent my buddy a text message like, yo, have you seen this? Elon is on YouTube right now saying that if you send him like 0.5 Bitcoin, he'll send you 1 Bitcoin back. He's like, looks like a scam, but it's Elon. Like, how can it be a scam? Mm-hmm. People are so dumb. And then you wonder like why people pay the 20,000 or 2% or whatever it's just, man, come on. It's vintage stuff here.
It's working. And
100%. It'll work. AI. It will work.
Yeah, using AI to their advantage, and I can't believe YouTube lets that shit go on, because it's YouTube is doing it. That's propagating.
They'll ban you or demonetize you for mentioning vaccines, but AI Elon can get up there and spit fire and steal from people for 6 hours at a time in a fake live stream. It's unreal. Yeah. YouTube is a joke. You're a joke, YouTube.
Tor and Tails OS, they have joined forces this past week. It was an announcement that came out that they have merged operations, and Tor and Tails OS. Tor is used quite often by a lot of Bitcoiners, and Tails too, I would suspect too. And
Tails is an OS you can just put on a thumb drive, I think, right? It's like a self-wiping.
Yeah, exactly that. Although there's options on there that you could maintain stuff when you close it, so it won't delete everything. So if you want to keep some information on there, it gives you the ability to do that, or you can just wipe it in totality. And every time you turn it on, it's a brand new rendition, so everything is safe. It's a really cool system, but Tails has gotten to the point it's very difficult to maintain, and managing it is just too difficult for the Tails team. And so they approached Tor in not too distant past and suggested, well, let's get together. We can leverage Tor's operational capacity to absorb Tails, and this will be all the better. And on the surface, I guess this looks good, because then you'll have collaboration between the two. These two products, there's a lot of overlap, or some overlap between the two, because Tails does use Tor when you use it, and the people that use one will probably use the other as well. But in one sense, though, I will say that I don't like it, because it kind of seems like it's centralization in a way. You're kind of having two products which were separate and unique. Now it's going to be done under one entity. Granted, it's going to be open source and everything, but it's still, in a way, it's kind of centralizing, kind of, you could say. But this is just more of a heads up that more than anything else, Tails and Tor, they're going to be one entity moving forward. I'm not sure how it's going to change anything with the look and feel of anything, but the same folks are going to be maintaining both, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important that these services stay running. So I'm glad that Tails, didn't just abandon the product. I think it's open source anyways, if I remember correctly. So
Tails is, because
yeah. So you can, if you're competent, you can go to the Tails code and do whatever you want with it. But it'd be nice to have like a few of these companies collaborate on some of these I guess you could call them privacy tools, maybe anonymity tools as well. And have like, you know, some kind of like consortium of companies that are working together to make sure their products work seamlessly and you can get them all in one place and blah, 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 right? And verify the code-free stuff. What else would you put on that list? Tails is a great one, although it's like extremely inconvenient for the average user. If you have a machine that you just want to be private, that's like as good as it gets. Tor obviously has a ton of benefits. We know that. What else would you put on there? Signal, maybe?
Signal's good, but you're not going to add it to Tails because it's going to wipe all that.
No,
shit
you
off.
wouldn't. You wouldn't. Yeah.
It's
But
just a section.
So what else would you throw? What else would you throw on that list? You know, of like
I like
important privacy
Signal.
tools. Yeah,
I like Signal's really good, but we talked offline. There may be a reason why people would not want to use it. There's not. I'm not trying to throw shade on it. Just man, oh man, like there's encroachment everywhere on privacy. Or
this is why you Bitcoin, man, because the encroachment is going to come faster and faster. And Bitcoin, like for all the black pills we talk about on this show, Bitcoin for me in the last like week or so, I've really been thinking a lot. It's just like beacon of like hope. You don't have to worry about someone controlling your money, controlling your transactions, stopping you from conducting business they don't like. You know, short of someone coming to your house with a gun, which doesn't scale. We've talked about that, even though the chilling effect is a little bit scary. Enforcement doesn't scale. And I think that Bitcoiners have understood this for a long time, sort of implicitly, if not explicitly, that having this other tool is just so difficult to stop. And it's this incredible thing that it forces governments to at least slow their roll, you know, as the kids say, when it comes to the constant creeping of just insane oversight. And I really think if you don't have it by now, man, like you're going to figure it out the hard way at this point, because all this stuff is happening so fast. Everything we do, Len, is just like monitored, watched, gathered, data mined, used against you for everything from legal action to forcing you into buying trinkets on Amazon. Literally everything you do. And Bitcoin is like the only thing that's just like this pure network money, stateless asset, no counterparty, yours to control. It's beautiful, man. And I said this so many times. Bitcoin could stall out right now in terms of hardware, or in terms of software, I should say. And you'd never have to worry about it, because the other side of the equation is just accelerating to the downside so quickly that everyone is going to figure this out at some point. And it's not about, and by the way, people who don't own Bitcoin, I would guess like 85% of them have actually figured it out already, but can't get past the sunk cost and the reputational damage they would take in their friend group or professionally or whatever, and just buy some and start, you know, supporting it outright. I think everyone gets why Bitcoin is going to work, and they're just afraid to do it because they just would feel stupid. Talk about a mistake, man, with all this other stuff going on. It's good to be a Bitcoiner. It is good to be a Bitcoiner.
And where you should not buy your Bitcoin is BitBuy, because apparently there's a security flaw, as per a poster on the Bitcoin CA subreddit. And he was saying that there's a client side glitch with BitBuy. And the issue was related how the user information was stored and transferred between the front end, that's what the user sees, and the back end, that's what the server handles. And the problem stems that it can be improperly handled, and how it does it with the request and the response, and which this leads to insufficient encryption protocols, because it looks like this is not security encrypted as it should be. Stuff like emails, phone number, transaction histories can all be data scraped with specific techniques.
Brutal.
And through analyzing the session tokens that were managed, these are tokens that are authenticate users and keep them logged in securely. It's found out that even after it expired, old session tokens can be used to access customer data long after the login has been closed off. So through this, the information that can be gathered is customer email, phone numbers, account balances, trading history, personal ID. That's KYC information stuff. So the way I think it, from what I gather, is anybody that could somehow get access to your phone, you need a malicious actor to get access to your phone. and they could do so either by physically getting the phone, which is obviously difficult to do, or if your phone is infected by some software. And through that, if they get access to this information, well, then everything what you do with BitBuy, unfortunately, is going to be up for grabs for these malicious actors. So I would suggest people out there that are BitBuy users, I wouldn't use your phone. I would use maybe a computer to do any transactions, and even then use maybe Tails. And that way, once you're done with it, it's cleans it off and you're good to go. So that's my suggestion. Or just simply go to somewhere like Bull Bitcoin. You know, you're going to be much safer with dealing with those folks.
Friend of the show, Jordan Anderson, had a. I'll say this, okay? I'll say this. He left that company, and I think a few other people left that company. That company's been going the wrong direction since then, I would say. When we met them, we went to their offices and recorded a show when we were like just babies in this whole thing. And I really thought that team was pretty competent, full of good Bitcoiners. They had a great story. You know, they were running this thing out of some guy's like backyard shed or something like that. I remember him saying, and they just, all they did was like play basketball and try and get this thing off the ground. And they ended up, you know, expanding to the point where they were able to get this nice office. And, you know, when we went to talk to them, he had, I thought, pretty good answers for a lot of the questions we were asking. We were asking some tough ones about security and shareholder slash stakeholder, you know, compromise and the other garbage they were listing and whatever. And, you know, at that time, like I said, we were still kind of in our infancy as a show, but I was impressed with what he had done. And I've talked to him a few times since then, you know, and I sat with him at the conference last year for a bit when I was emceeing and spoke with them. And, you know, he's a guy I think that you can trust. And I look at what they've done since that whole, you know, merger, I guess you could call it. It's basically a hostile takeover, I think, in anyone's eyes. They cut people who really cared about the product and tried to maximize profit, it seems like to me. And this isn't the first BitBuy story we've had like this. Wasn't there another one? There was like an email problem they had about a year ago. You know, we've heard stories about liquidity issues with them. And now this, like, why would you still be using BitBuy? This is what I don't get. This Bull Bitcoin, and God, like, you know, we love Bull. I was using Bull even before they were a sponsor of the show, but you'd better off using any other company basically except these guys. These guys are just like, it's fodder for just bad stories, you know, like we're not the only people who are going to talk about this story, and it's not going to be the last time you hear these guys and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Darren in the chat, I saw a post that BitBuy support didn't know what a cold card was. Like, that's inexcusable. That is inexcusable. That company is headed the wrong direction, man. Just get your shit off of that exchange and don't use them. It's a bad idea.
Remember, they have been scooped up a few years back by the WonderFi.
O'Leary, yeah, WonderFi, yeah.
Yeah, and they scooped up them, and was it Coin Square? I think it was.
Yeah, another guy we had on the show, right? We had that guy on as well.
Yeah. That's it, Joey. We're past an hour. I think that's more than enough for
Sure.
Bitcoin-related stuff. There's more shit we have to talk about.
Stay on for notable stories. If you're on YouTube, don't go anywhere. If you're on Spaces, don't go anywhere. And podcasters, we'll see you tomorrow for the notables. Take care of yourselves.
That's Coin Smart, by the way, not Coin Square. But yeah, don't be a cock.